So welcome, Kristina and Bjørn. Lovely to see you both together. So Kristina and Bjørn are going to be discussing how they've grown an e-commerce business with personalization, share their next steps down their personalization path, what went well, and some of the challenges that they faced. These are some good fun facts. So fun fact about Bjørn is that he has run 10 marathons and has tasted 1,185 different beers, not at the same time.
Perfect combo.
Yeah. And Kristina trains parkour with her kids every week. Am I pronouncing it's parkour right? Yes. Parkour is with your kids.
Yes, I have 4-year-old twins.
Love it.
They keep me busy on the parkour field and everywhere else as well.
Great. So welcome onto the stage. If you'd like to share your screen, we can make sure that works before you begin. But please do welcome Kristina and Bjørn onto the stage. And once you're ready, we will get started. Great. Yes. I will leave you to it.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for having us, Content Square and Frosmo. Pleasure to be here. So my name is Kristina Lagerroos, and I'm the Senior Manager for E-commerce Development here at Reima. And today we'll be talking about the personalization and what we've been doing with it. Our roles here are such as I'll take you through the grand idea, and then Bjørn explains how things really get done.
Some details.
Yeah, some details. But firstly, shortly about Reima. So in today's world, kids are not moving enough, and Reima is here to change this. We've existed for over 75 years already, so we believe that we have a strong take in this. Reima stands for the joy of movement, so it's not just about making clothes for kids, it's enabling the joy of movement. And our mission states that we champion an active childhood to raise a generation ready for the world to come. Today's world is changing in not just forms of personalization, but within the climate change, COVID-19, so forth. We need to prepare ourselves and enable a happy childhood for today's kids as well. But then shortly, I said, we've been around for over 75 years. We sell around 7 million products annually. So that's to give you an idea of the scale of the business. And over 80% of sales come from international markets. This is no news to anybody else except for Finns, who always think that we are a very domestic company. Approximately 15% of the total sales come from our own digital channels, but then if you count all digital channels together, so also our partners' channels and marketplaces, that's then in total already over 50%. So there's a strong shift on the children's clothing industry towards digital business. Net sales of the company, 141 million euros. In last year. About 500 people are employed, most of them here in the Nordics, and then we have offices, big offices in China as well, smaller ones in Russia and North America. About the scale of the Reima's e-commerce, I thought that before we start talking what we've been doing, it's nice to know the size that we're playing with. It's 15 e-commerce stores globally. It says in brackets 17 because 15 is the official numbers, but then we have a few projects, as we always do, ongoing, different startups and so forth. So a few more out there. We ran them on various platforms. It's not all combined. We have big SAP Hybris, and then we have Bitrix for Russia and Shopify then for the newer markets. Reima opened our first e-commerce store in 2011, and the latest one, Reima Japan, opened just a few weeks back. We've been quite a forerunner in the digital business in our own industry. So now we deliver around to 45 countries from our own e-commerces. We also own a company called Finnish Baby Box, which delivers the great concept of all children's clothing you need for the first year in a box, invented here in Finland to then other countries. And they deliver to over 70 countries, so quite global already. The Europe stores that we're today going to take a deeper look are then on the Hybris platform. And from them, we've shipped now 163,000 packages year to date today. Black Friday is still to come, so let's see how the figures will look towards the end of the year. This is our busiest season, not just because of the big marketing campaigns, but because of the natural need for winter clothing, which is surprisingly here in the Northern Hemisphere always at the latest quarter. 3.1 million users year to date, so quite big, not huge, but big. And 6.6 million sessions this year already. We started thinking when we were making the presentation that is personalization in today's world still a competitive advantage? Is it still something that with what we can win customers over? Because today's consumers really expect that we know them. They are digitally savvy and they know what's possible. I have a personal story of which these pink garments here remind me of. I joined Reima a little less than 3 years ago, and when I had already been employed but had not yet started at Reima, I was browsing the Reima e-commerce a lot. And then when I got there like the 4th or the 5th time, I got so annoyed with all the pink garments I was seeing. Like I said, I'm a mom of 2 boys. I rarely browse anything pink. I look for the blues and greens and oranges and whatnot, but very rarely pink. And then the site was pink. Today I know why I saw only pink garments, but that's, I think, a perfect example of what the consumer expectation today is. I expected that since I had been on the site several times in a short period of time, they would know by now that this person doesn't want to see pink. They want to see something else.
So the answer is yes.
Yes,
it's a competitive advantage.
It is. And then it's good to remember also that today's consumers, we want, as consumers, that the brands understand what our needs are, but then we are also quite aware of our rights in terms of personal data and the usage of that. But we still find that most people are really willing to share data if the company is always open and honest about how we're planning to use it. And then, as always, personalized offers and coupons and so forth are really preferred, so that hasn't gone anywhere. So that's always a good tip to think if there's something you can offer to the customer in exchange of their data. But then going deeper into why we think personalization is important.
Yeah, so my name is Bjørn Rodge. I work as a digital development manager at Reima. And before that, I worked as an e-commerce manager at Reima. So it was actually my fault that Kristina was seeing all these pink products.
Very
since
frustrating.
I was also working with the recommendations back then.
Yeah.
So sorry about that with all the pink.
Yeah, we'll fix it.
But we started thinking why we think personalization is important. And for Reima, we deliver a large range of products for different age groups and different seasons. So it should be beneficial to then take a step beyond the generic marketing content you show or products you recommend and communicate more based on the customer behavior or affinity, what they are interested in, to be more relevant. And it was actually really interesting to see Marianne's slide with the different levels, because I hadn't thought about it in that way. So very good to see. But what we hope from personalization is that it will give the user a smoother experience on one side, so a better service for them. And then on the other hand, we of course also want to see a positive impact on sales, conversion rate, and average order value. So kind of win-win situation, I guess we're talking about. And we also think it can be a relevant thing when we talk about getting the consumers back for the second purchase or third and so on. Here you see a visual about the buyer's point of view and then the seller's point of view. So the 2 different sides of the same story.
And credits for that image to Frosmo.
Yeah, I borrowed it. So yeah, we also thought, like, where do we actually personalize? Because I think many do personalization also without knowing about it or that you have thought about it.
Mm.
For example, in digital marketing, we have been doing personalization a long time, retargeting ads, etc.
Segmenting, that is already personalization at a scale.
Yeah. And then we have our automated email programs that we are sending to specific segments. With Frosmo, we have just started, or actually we're soon going live. I'm excited about that. Yes. With these new recommendation strategies. And then we have the weather app that Kristina also will talk a bit more about later. So there we personalize based on location. So how should you dress your child based on the weather in your location? Here I want to talk shortly about our automated emails program. The interesting thing here is that people want relevant info, and I can also, based on my own experience, if I look at my email inbox, my promotion folder in Gmail, so I would say I open maximum 1 out of 10 emails. So there's a lot of emails coming in. And then I looked at our numbers, so you can see our broadcast campaigns have an open rate of about 26%, while the automated campaigns have an open rate of about 55%. So it really works well in that matter. Then we can also send broadcast emails to different customer segments. I put some of our segments here as example: loyal, at risk, lapsed, and test patrol, which are people who want to test our product, so they're really engaged in the brand. So you can send different messages and get better results on this. And then you can also A/B test content within the automated campaigns to make them more effective. And then you can duplicate it to all countries when you have several countries running the same program. So.
Yeah, we wanted to mention emails here because as long as I've been within the industry, I've heard that emails are going to die. Well, they're not going anywhere. They're still a very effective tool and a good tool to personalize, because for a consumer, it comes to your mailbox. It's just for you, or it should at least feel like that. Yeah. Then we're going to another take on personalization called the Reima weather app. Here we started thinking one of our key questions we always try to answer when we are planning our UX is how to dress my child. And we know that every morning you take your kids to kindergarten or they leave for school, you have to check the weather. Is it going to rain? Is it freezing or not freezing? What should I put on the kids? So we decided that we need to tackle this issue even deeper and developed an app where we, based on your location, recommend what should your kid put on today. So the idea is to get useful personal tips on how to dress your kid. Here's a few examples. So on the summertime, you might see that, hey, it's quite nice and light wear. You don't need anything else than a t-shirt and a pair of shorts. Or then in the winter, it's freezing. Put on a full 3 layers, topped with a proper Reima snowsuit. The key for the app is that let's start from the beginning. There is a natural demand for children's clothing about twice a year. You need the mid-season gear and then you need the winter gear here in the Nordics. So we thought that the weather app would be a natural way for us to engage more often with our consumers, to be relevant in their daily lives rather than just once or twice a year. And it will be in the future also a key player for the omnichannel experience, so combining our in-store experience and online experience together. Very cool insights, and you can all go and download the versions from the app stores. So then to product recommendations.
Yeah, and a bit more. This is then a list with Reima and Frosmo, what we have been doing with Frosmo. So it ranged from free delivery notifiers to discount tags to APIs to send product info to our weather app that you just saw. But I've here highlighted the 3 on top segments: product recommendations and A/B testing, which I find important for the personalization part. So those are the things I will go a bit more through. Here we start to look at segments. So what we did, and I think everyone should do, based on Frosmo's recommendation, was to create the segments right away and start collecting data. Brainstorm on the segments you can see useful in the future. We have made a lot of segments that we have not used yet, but at least we have them there with data in them, and keep it simple. And the don't is don't create too detailed segments or set the time frame too short. I has an example here, a user that have filtered with color gray, so we know it's not you, then it would be pink.
Yeah, of course, my favorite.
In the last day, and you see the segment size is 1 person, so super personal, but not too effective to use for anything. So
probably somebody from Frosmo testing.
Yeah, I guess so. Misha have been there.
Yeah.
But and then you see some examples. We have category visited and the source that can be then Facebook, Google, or Reima weather app, and then how many times they have visited the site during certain periods. So that can, of course, then be adjusted easily. And recommendations are working. With the current setup, we already see good return of investment when we have been measuring it. I put some stats here, and this is only Finland from January to October. So if you see our category and product recommendation, they have been clicked almost 100,000 times during this period. So when you then add 8 other countries and also several more recommendations, you see it's a lot of clicks. So if you can then make the click better, it should be effective. So that's why we want to make them better and personal. So from front page, most popular or curated product page, we have had similar products, and category, we have had most popular in category, which have been effective, but now we're moving to these a bit more advanced. I'm not going to read them all, but I've highlighted the parts that I think makes them personal. So it's usually based on what the user has viewed, and also from what categories they have viewed in the last 30 days or 60 days, etc. And the bundles based on that. So if you want more info on this, you can ask in the Q&A session. I have one example case. This is our add to basket recommendation we are testing right now. I call it semi-personalized. I guess if I had seen Marianne's slide earlier, I would have put it in the lower part there. But this is then recommending products based on what you have added to basket and creating bundles from that. So based on 1,700 transactions in our Norwegian shop, we see a conversion rate rising from 9.22 to 990, and also the average order value from 93.25 to 94.85. So doesn't look like a big increase, but actually it's very effective if you hunt these percentages over and over in different recommendations.
And you scale them up, like again, to all the 9 stores.
Yeah,
it starts to be very relevant. Yeah.
So this is how we then measure and see if it was if it's worth putting live. And then some recommendations for recommendations. So do personalize your recommendations and do A/B test all the changes you do to hunt the percentages. And then let it go if the data proves no improvement. Sometimes we have been sticking with solutions a bit too long because we want them to work so very much. And don't overdo the layout for getting customer attention. I have in the image there an example of a sliding recommendation that I tried to make work a little bit too long, but it actually took over the screen. So the clicking results were good, but the user interface feeling for the customer was not too good. So we had to let it go in the end. And also here you can see the color recommended was totally wrong for everyone.
It must be your favorite color.
And don't combine too many changes in one A/B test. So testing one thing at a time so you can see the results directly. It's a good rule.
Yeah, we always get a bit greedy with these and want to change a lot of things at once, and it's very hard to remember to pace yourselves and do one at a time.
Yeah.
But then some key learnings from what we've learned on our journey on personalization and going forward. Well, one thing I think Bjørn already mentioned is start today, at least with something. You can go into more details, programs, and more refined segments later on, but start with something. Get it going. It's not like what do you call it? Like you don't run for 100 meters. You're running a marathon here. So get started with at least a nice long walk.
Yeah. Warm up at least.
Yeah, warm up. Yeah, and then keep it simple in the beginning. Things are only as complicated as you make them. We have a tendency at Reima to get really excited about new things, and we want to try 10 things at once. So this is very important for us to try to keep it simple in the beginning, so that we can actually learn on the way while we are testing things. Then we wrote here, test what you do and to do what you tested. So trust your figures. There are often cases where something would be perfect for coming from your brand experience or what you think that the user would absolutely want. But if the figures show it's not working, then let it go and move on to something else. In the end, it's the consumer's experience that determines what's working and what's not.
Yeah.
Yes. So, thank you. Happy to help with any questions you might have.
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you so much. You've got some, again, great comments in the chat. I think people are especially grateful that you were sharing cases and statistics and things, which just kind of paint the picture of what you're talking about. One, we've got some big Reima fans in the audience, and two, they love the app.
Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
And I think we had a few people at the start say that they love Reima so much. Are they going to be doing an adult collection?
Well, let's just say that's something to our country organizations to decide. If we had some of our Chinese or Russian friends here, they'd tell that that's already out. But here in Europe, we have to wait for a bit.
Okay, nice. So it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, let's see how it goes.
Ooh, well, thank you so much.
You.
I will let you leave the stage and head over to the workshops, which is where we're all going now. But thank you.